on to the second round. First up is Tim Day. If elected, what are your top priorities for representing District 14 and why? If elected, what are your top priorities for representing District 14 and why?
Go get all money. It's the top. Everybody like that, right? Go get that money from the Iraqi government. They got over 300 billion barrels of crude up underneath them. And we need to lay our claims to it and make sure we get our money back. Second, constituent services. That's why I'm keeping all the Ron Paul people intact. I'm not changing, not no one. I already met with the late Jackson office. We're keeping everyone intact. We're going to keep the constituent services, work the case who work. We're going to stay on top of that. And number three, work on, I get the money back from Iraqi people. I have a little leverage in the Congress. Then I come back and hold a meeting and say, hey, I got leverage. What's the first thing we're going to go after? EPA? I'll let the 14th district decide. I got to go get leverage. I got to go get that money. All right?
Thank you, Tim. Next up, we have Robert Gonzalez. If elected, what are your top priorities for representing District 14 and why?
I'm a process control engineer at a chemical plant. We make PVC. I'm still working. I have two jobs. I go to work at 5, I get out at 3:30, and I campaign from 3:30 to 10 o'clock every night, just about. So, energy is number one for me. I work in a manufacturing facility. We actually have a systematic system right now that is trying to destroy the American industry. We manufacture PVC, and there is an attack on the manufacturing facility. We don't make hardly anything else in this country, but the chemical plants are one of the last bastions of manufacturing. I've been to 30 years. I hired on at 21, and I'm still working there. I started out as an instrument technician. Throughout the last 30 years, I have seen the regulations that have been imposed on our industry. These regulations make us, it makes it harder for us to compete on a global scale. We have, the profit margin globally has dwindled, and we're getting smaller and smaller. And a company like ours is there to make money. If they lose the profit margin, they have two choices. They either close shop, or they close shop and they go overseas. Either way, the American business loses. So I'm going to fight for the energy. We have oil rigs out in the Gulf that are idle right now because we don't get permits being issued by the Department of Interior. We have a government right now that is anti-American business. So I'm going to fight for energy. We have the oil and gas fracking that's going on right now, and that's a boom for us. The Keystone Pipeline. It makes so much sense to allow TransCanada to build this pipeline and bring it down to us so that we can refine it down here in the South. But because one man doesn't want it to happen, it's not happening. We have to fight for that. Second thing, I want to fight for the border. As a Hispanic, as an immigrant who came here legally, I know the people, I know the situation. I have a plan. I call it Day One. I am going to do everything in my power when I get on the House floor to scream loud and clear that we finally have to do something about that. I have a plan to close the borders, to remove the magnet, and to allow our law enforcement officials to actually enforce the laws. And the third one is the balanced budget amendment that I want to help write and pass. If we don't get a hold of the spending, right now it's $10.55 billion a day that we're spending, and we're only receiving $6 billion. We're at a $4.5 billion deficit every single day, which puts us at a 1.69 deficit at $1.6 trillion at the end of the year deficit. Guys, if we let this happen, our kids are going to have a tax base of 70%, and they will be slaves to the state. We got to stop it. Thank you, guys.
Robert. Next up, we have Randy Weber. If elected, what are your top priorities for District 14 and why?
Thank you, David. 3 minutes or 2 minutes? 3. My top priorities for representing this district. Pardon me. get America's business moving again. America's budget has to be balanced. We did it in Texas, as a Texas state legislature. We didn't raise taxes. We didn't impose any new fees. My friend Representative Dennis Bonnen is back here. He knows that to be a fact. We represented you, did it well. We campaigned on no new tax increases, no new fees, and we did just that. We need a balanced budget. Don't let Democrats and the president tell you that you have a taxing or revenue problem. We have a spending problem. It's time to cut up Congress's credit card. Get America's business moving again. Let's move America toward energy independence. I was over in Port Arthur when they had a public hearing on the XL pipeline. I was the first one up to speak. And I said, let me tell you 3 things about that pipeline. Number 1, get it here. Number 2, get it now. And number 3, oh yeah, I'm in favor of it. We need that pipeline here. Let's get energy our energy independence has got to be gone. Let's get energy independence on the way. Let's get American business moving again. Let's widen our port. Let's improve our infrastructure. The Panama Canal is widening. We have the Petrotex chemical plants here in Texas. We are a major, major economic factor in this United States. 40% of, just about 40% of all the jobs created in America have been in Texas. We know how to do that in the Texas legislature. I will take my experience to work for you in D.C., and we will get America's business moving again and in this district. I'm Randy Weber. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Next up, we have George Harper, elected. What are your top priorities for representing District 14 and why? You have 3 minutes.
The priorities facing the 113th Congress will be to address the fiscal health of entitlements and to address the economic health of our nation. The two go hand in hand, and the two must be addressed simultaneously. What I'm trying to make known in my campaign is that entitlements can be addressed without cutting benefits for our senior citizens and without raising taxes on the younger generation still working. I have heard no one, Republican or Democrat, admit that this solution is possible, but if we can redefine our priorities, we can honor our nation's commitments to her citizens. Step 1 in entitlement reform is to reform the taxing structure by eliminating FICA taxes for both individuals and business and shifting the funding into general revenue. This simplifies our taxing structure and has the additional benefit of helping small and mid-sized businesses by reducing non-productive administrative costs. Step 2 for entitlement reform is to shift federal spending from the military budget to the entitlement budget. And we can do this without sacrificing national defense. The choice in spending is between support for the military-industrial complex and for support of the common citizen, you and me. Economically, we need tax reform, and I support the fair tax. Also, I will always vote yes to reduce regulations, but I advocate more. I advocate freeing businesses from the chains of regulatory control by eliminating entire agencies and bureaucracy. At the top of my hit list is the EPA, the Department of Energy, the Department of Transportation, Homeland Security, and the Department of Education. We need to get our deficits under control, and we can start by eliminating baseline budgeting and replacing it with zero-based budgeting. My basic message is simple. We need to rethink the role of government. We need to rethink the role government is to assume in our society, and then we need to cut the structure of government. If we accomplish this, we can restore the American dream. My name is George Harper. Thank you very much.